And my experience had been that the best idea, if you want to make 10 extra money, is you buy something that everybody in the world needs, nobody in the world can stop, and almost nobody understands. Okay, so in 2010, that was Amazon, or that was Apple, or that was Facebook or Google. These are all dominant digital networks that everybody in the world needed, that nobody could stop. But if you'd ask the typical mainstream investor, is this a good investment? They would all say, oh, it's very scary, it's overvalued, Amazon doesn't make money, you know.
Wait a minute, everyone. Welcome to Bitcoinzilla, your platform for daily cryptocurrency analysis and news. Our mission is to keep it simple. Bitcoinzilla offers engaging information that is easy to understand. Our analysts keep their eyes on the latest news to provide valuable insights via email. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Join our community of 10,000 subscribers and experience the new edge with Bitcoinzilla. Subscribe now. In today's video, Michael Saylor shares his new prediction for Bitcoin in the next 10 years. Why he thinks that we are on the first phase of Bitcoin adoption. Saylor shares his opinion on why Warren Buffett doesn't like investing in Bitcoin and more. So without wasting any time, let's dive into the video.
So the conventional wisdom was against these big tech companies. But I took the opposite view, and I had made a lot of money, and I'd written a book about it, and my view was Apple was going to be the most valuable company in the world because no company in the history of the world could ship a product to 1 billion people overnight for a nickel. But Apple can.
Yes.
And so it's the most valuable company in the world because it's the most valuable company that's ever existed in the world. There's a reason for it. And so in 2020, I needed to figure out what's the next thing. And what I began to think was, wouldn't it be great if I could take gold but make it digital gold? And wouldn't it be great if there was a Facebook for money? You know, if I showed up to Facebook and I was a normal person, I have 10 friends. But when a celebrity shows up to Facebook with 100 million followers, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, what if there was a Facebook for money? And what if billion-dollar corporations showed up with $1 billion and put it on the network? And so I saw Bitcoin was Facebook for money. It's gold without the defects of gold, but it's not the digital transformation of information. It's the digital transformation of money or capital or property. And that's a very profound difference. And I thought that it was just the right thing for us at the right time. We needed something like that on our balance sheet.
Bitcoin heads into the April monthly close on an uncertain footing as BTC price action falls to 10-day lows. The largest cryptocurrency continues to tread water beneath significant resistance levels after a week of sustained selling during Wall Street trading hours. Macro and geopolitical instability have added to what has become a potent mixture for Bitcoin bulls to grapple with this month. Can they turn things around? The April candle close has just days left to avoid becoming Bitcoin's worst month of 2024 so far. The immediate landscape remains problematic. Seller interest between spot price and new all-time highs is considerable, and while price discovery is only around $12,000 away, such levels seem firmly out of reach. Market observers are thus looking the other way, to key areas of support should downside pressure keep piling on. Optimists argue that BTC/USD is merely ranging meanwhile, and that time will produce a bull market continuation of the sort enjoyed in Q1. Its comeback may be helped by a dose of déjà vu this week. Less than 4 months after the United States, Hong Kong is set to launch its own spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, ETF. The weekly close provided little respite for battered Bitcoin traders as BTC/USD continued dropping into the Asia session. The week prior, relief bounces towards $65,000 had repeatedly encountered selling pressure around the Wall Street open, which commentators including Popular Trader skew attributed to U.S. automated trading algorithms. I do see the potential for longer crab between $67,000, $58,000 till proper flow supported breakout. He continued in fresh analysis on X, formerly Twitter, on April 29. Bears have so far failed to keep the market below $60,000 for long. Even at current levels around $62,000, however, April is on track to deliver more than 12% losses. Data from monitoring resource CoinGlass confirms that this would make it Bitcoin's worst performing month since November 2022, the height of the latest bear market.
If Warren Buffett said, I'm going to buy $9 billion of Bitcoin every year for the next 4 years, starting on April 20th, that's what the halving is. You can look at it as it's a natural demand for $35 million worth of Bitcoin a day, every day for the next 4 years. Or you could say Bitcoin is a market where there's $18 billion of supply available, and there's a demand that's more than that, but in a couple of days, there won't be $18 billion in supply, there'll be $9 billion in supply.
Yeah.
So if I told you I was going to cut the production of oil in half in 2 weeks, you would think the price would go up.
Yes.
And so that's the significance of the halving. There's not going to be any more than the 450 Bitcoin available from natural sellers. The natural buyers are people that want to store their life savings. They want a store of value, and they're wanting to save their capital. And when they buy, they'll buy and hold it for a decade. Maybe they'll hold it forever, but they'll hold it for a long, long time. And a lot of them are coming into the market because of the approval of these spot ETFs right now. Yeah. So they're the buyers, the miners are the sellers. The supply demand is the demand is going to increase, the supply is going to decrease. The price will have to adjust to find marginal sellers that want to sell at a higher price. I actually think that if Warren Buffett had 100 hours to consider Bitcoin, and if he wasn't in his 90s, if he was in his 60s, he probably would spend the time to learn it, and he'd be a big Bitcoin believer. Because Warren Buffett is an adherent of the buy and hold strategy, the hodl. He's probably the most famous hodler of his generation. He bought Coca-Cola and he still owns the stock. He would buy companies and hold them for 30 years. He said he's very famous for this phrase, if I wouldn't hold it for 10 years, you shouldn't hold it for 10 minutes. And that's the Bitcoin idea too. Buy something you're going to hold for 10 years. I think that people that get asked about Bitcoin but have only spent an hour studying it or a few minutes, they just misunderstand it. And because they misunderstand it, they're goaded to criticize it or dismiss it out of hand just because they misunderstand it. Most people that are skeptics or cynics, they think it's a currency that's going to replace the dollar and replace the banking system or replace, governments. And on that basis, or they think or they confuse it with crypto tokens that are securities. And they either think it's a scam or they think it's a threat to the dollar. If you study it deeper, you realize it's property. And once you think of it as it's a digital building or it's digital property, I'm buying it instead of buying an apartment to rent out as retirement income, or I'm buying it instead of buying a building, or I'm buying it instead of buying an acre of land because I want to store my savings for 30 years.
Significant macroeconomic events keep coming this week with the next interest rates decision by the U.S. Federal Reserve. While markets expect no surprises from the latest meeting of the Federal Open Market Committee, FOMC, recent macro data prints have concerned risk asset bulls. Lower rates may come much later than anticipated at the start of the year, they fear, as shown in estimates from CME Group's FedWatch tool. We have a massive week ahead of us. Trading resource The Kobayashi Letter summarized in its weekly macro outlook thread on X. After a month full of hot inflation data, we will finally get the Fed's updated views. It is not just FOMC. Headlining the week's macro events is accompanying commentary from Fed Chair Jerome Powell on May 1, followed by jobless claims and unemployment data on May 2 and May 3, respectively. For Bitcoin and risk assets, however, all may not be so bad, unless views turn to favor a significant worsening of economic circumstances. Worst-case scenario would be consecutively bad spells for risk assets and potentially leads to bets of economy somehow breaking apart. Stu explained about the outlook. Probably see sweep of $50,000, $46,000 area. Don't see that happening till there's ATF close below $58,000 and narrative for a breakdown. And do not forget to subscribe to Bitcoin. The most important news will reach your inbox on a daily basis and for free. I do not know why you have not subscribed yet. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more daily updates. Remember, knowledge is power, and we're here to empower you on your financial journey. Until next time, happy investing.